It's not over. You know, as Newt has said, and we really want to commend you all for the campaign that you all have run and the hard work that you put into the state of Florida as a group here today tonight. Newt talks about not working for him, but working with him to return the United States of America to its exceptional nation status. Isn't that important for our country? We've run a great campaign in Florida. We went up against a candidate who was here 4 years ago campaigning. He had a good organization. We were outspent about $17 million to $5 million. And we, I think, really helped our candidate, Newt Gingrich, deliver that message of conservative values, principles, and putting our country back to where it belongs. I'm going to call up in a minute former Congressman, former Attorney General of Florida, Bill McCollum. But before I do, let me mention that we know from the campaign about concern about repealing Obamacare. We know the importance of balancing the budget and ending this terrible deficit that we have. But Bill McCollum was in the United States Congress when Newt was Speaker of the House, and they worked very closely together. That's when there was a Republican majority. You think it's time we had that again? Yeah! Those were the days of the contract with America. That's a contract with the citizens to do the right things and run the government appropriately. And welfare reform, I mean, really having a hand up to people and not just giving them a handout. And those were the kinds of issues that Bill McCollum was involved with Newt Gingrich and his team in that particular Congress. Subsequently, Bill went on to become a great Attorney General of Florida. And I'm proud that he's been co-chairman on this campaign. So let me bring up Congressman, Attorney General Bill McCollum.
Co-chairs, Alan Levine and Rich Crotty, Rich Crotty, Orange County, for doing one heck of a job as we go through this state. I also want to thank Deputy Council Roush and all the county chairs. Let's give them a round of applause. Your staff, Jose Maria, his whole team has just been marvelous to work with. And all the group that's behind me, Kirk Kelly, and many too many to name and thank in this campaign. Now, I want to take a while. I took a phone call, I think it was December the 9th from Newt, and I agreed to become his Florida chair and co-chair with these fellows. Why did I do that? Well, first of all, I've known Newt Gingrich for a long time. I was elected in 1980 with Ronald Reagan. I was there 2 years after Newt, and I watched in those 1980s as Newt created the Conservative Opportunity Society. When we have been stale, we've been out of power for years and years, and the leadership we had simply didn't have the belief that we were going to ever be a majority in Congress and the U.S. House again. But Newt had that vision. He knew he could. And then he created GOPAC. And we trained local candidates that still are trained within the day that came along to serve the local government seats and in the state legislatures to get ready to become congressmen. And then I was in the House elected Republican leadership with him while he was the whip and I was the vice chairman of the Republican Conference when he became elected Republican leaders during the presidency of Bush 41. And I remember, and I can tell you for a fact, I was out there on the campaign trail in 1994 when we took the House back. I went in as many, or I didn't go quite as many as Newt Gingrich did, but almost as many, over 90 congressional districts that year. And I know for a fact that we would not have taken the majority of the U.S. House in 1994 if it weren't for Newt Gingrich. We wouldn't have had welfare reform. We wouldn't have had a balanced budget for 4 years in a row. We wouldn't be where we are today as a party without this man. And I can tell you what, he is the type of guy who knows how to shake it up. And that's what we need in Washington right now. We need a conservative. Who the Wall Street Journal said has the boldest tax plan. He's the true supply-side Ronald Reagan economic conservative. He wants to lower your tax rate to 15%, give you that option, and eliminate the tax on capital gains altogether that we in the Ronald Reagan era know will get this economy moving again. And he understands that what President Obama is doing right now to our national security and our military himself because he understands Ronald Reagan's motto, peace through strength. Now, last but not least, I will tell you something else. As the guy who took the Obamacare lawsuit and filed it, I'm proud to support it in the Supreme Court, I know he's the one candidate in this race that can take it to Obama on the health care issue, and we can get Obamacare repealed. Going on and on. This is a very vibrant campaign. The conservative base voted tonight. You'll look at the exit polls tomorrow and see that. And the reason why we're so passionate about Newt Gingrich and why they're going to be so passionate about it in Arizona and Oklahoma, in Alabama, Mississippi, and Michigan, and Minnesota, and so on, is because of the reason I know that Newt Gingrich has the knowledge, the leadership skills, and the vision to be a great president of the United States. It is my pleasure tonight to give you Callista Gingrich and the next president of the United States, Newt Gingrich.
Very much. And thank all of you up here. I was going to start by thanking Attorney General Bill McCollum, who just has been a great statewide leader and has done so much to help us, and he and Ingrid have just been tremendous. I also want to thank Mayor Crotty and Alan Levine, who co-chaired statewide and really helped us put this together in a remarkably short time, and so we're very grateful to all of you. I also want to introduce my daughter Kathy and her husband Paul. They live down in Key Biscayne. She did a whole series of Spanish language media over the last couple of weeks, helping us in the Miami area and really reaching out across all of the Hispanic community. And also my daughter Jackie and her husband Jimmy, who are here. Jackie's been speeches, doing television and radio, and as many of you know, she and Jimmy are the mother and father of my two major debate coaches. So it's great to have them here. I want to thank our audience. Chris and I talked about this, and everybody here has been so positive in every part of the state that we just thank all of you for the hospitality and the kindness. We thank the well over 500,000 Floridians who voted for us. And I think Florida did something very important coming on top of South Carolina. It is now clear that this will be a two-person race between the conservative leader, Newt Gingrich, and the Massachusetts moderate. Really made that clear. Now you'll notice that a number of folks are holding up a sign about 46 states to go. I did this in part for the elite media because you know, the same people who said I was dead in June and July and said I was gone after Iowa, who seemed totally quiet the night of the South Carolina victory, are now going to be back saying, what's he going to do, what's he going to do, what's he going to do. So I just want to reassure them tonight. We are going to contest every place and we are going to win, and we will be in Tampa as the nominee in August. You might ask, in the face of a 5-to-1 onslaught, how can that be true? And I'll give you the answer. It was stated at a historic moment in 1863 in dedicating our first national military cemetery by the President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. who said we have government of the people, by the people, for the people. And we're going to have people power defeat money power in the next 6 months. And you might say, how are we going to do that? Well, the same way that we came back in June and July, and by December, we're ahead in the Gallup poll nationally by 12 or 13 points with no money. It turned out that if you have ideas and you have solutions and you're positive and you can communicate a better future and you have a history of actually doing something in the past, that the combination begins to reach the American people. So let me talk briefly about what this is going to be about. This is the most important election of your lifetime. If Barack Obama gets reelected, it will be a disaster for the United States of America. Yes. Make no bones about it. If he can have a record this bad, unemployment this bad, deficits this bad, policies this bad, gasoline prices this high, and still get reelected, you can't imagine how radical he'll be in his second term. Right. So designing and putting together a people's campaign, not a Republican campaign, not an establishment campaign, not a Wall Street funded campaign, a people's campaign, and saying to every American of every background and every ethnic group and every community, we have a better future for you and your family. It's a future of jobs. It's a future of lower gasoline prices. It's a future of a balanced budget. It's a future of a smaller Washington. It's a future of more power back home to you and your family and your neighborhood. This is a future we ask you to join us in imposing on the establishment in Washington and imposing it on both parties. Let's talk briefly about the power of ideas. In 1980, I was very honored to be able to help put together the first Capitol Steps event. And at that point, Senate and House candidates came together with Governor Reagan. David Broder wrote about it in the Washington Post as a very courageous decision by Reagan because he didn't have to run as part of a team. And he did something nobody had done before. And we won 6 U.S. Senate seats by a combined margin of 75,000 votes. We picked up 33 House seats. In 1994, building on that experience, we had 350 candidates to come and to be part of a contract with America to stand on the Capitol steps. We offered a positive program, and we had the largest one-party increase in American history in an off year. 9 million additional Americans voted for a positive vision, and we kept our word, and every item in the contract was voted on in the first 93 days. There's a core question, both in the primaries and in the general election. It's a simple question. If you're comfortable with the way America is decaying, then we don't have to change much. We can just manage the decay. If you think that's a terrible thing to do to your children and grandchildren, it's a terrible thing to do to your country. And if you are prepared to do what it takes to make sure that we change direction, not just the presidency, but the Congress, the bureaucracy, the judges, the policies, so that the entire system gets on the right track, so that America can give our children and grandchildren a more prosperous, a safer, and a better future. This is how big the gap is. There are folks over here in both parties who are quite comfortable managing the decay. I am running, Calista and I made the decision of running, our children, our son-in-laws joined us in that decision because we believe it is cheating our grandchildren to not insist on fundamental basic change in Washington, even if the establishment doesn't like it. In the next few days, we're going to develop the equivalent of the contract from 1994, except this is going to be a personal one between me and you. because I'm asking you to make me president. Therefore, I have a personal responsibility. It's going to come in two parts. Part one is conditional and requires your help. Part two I can do if I win the election without having to condition it. Part one only works if you help me and we run a team campaign, which means, by the way, we have to replace Bill Nelson with a conservative. But if you help us, and in addition to winning the presidency, we elect a Republican Senate and a Republican House, I will ask them on January 3rd to stay in office, and I will ask them to immediately pass the repeal of Obamacare. I will ask them to immediately pass the repeal of the Dodd-Frank bill, which is killing housing, killing small business. And I will ask them to pass the repeal of Sarbanes-Oxley, which is crippling American businesses with no net profit. My goal is to have all three bills sitting there waiting, so the minute I am sworn in, I can sign all three, and we're off to a pretty good opening morning. Now, those three promises are conditional. We have to win the Senate by a big enough margin to manage it, and we have to increase our strength in the House. Help me do that, I'll do those three. Now let me tell you some things, and we're going to put this together in a way that you'll be able to see in writing with my signature, and you'll be able to hold me accountable. There are a series of executive orders I can issue that the Congress can't stop as long as they're within the law. The very first executive order will abolish all of the White House czars as of that moment. We will issue immediately an executive order on the same day. All this is going to happen about 2 hours after the inaugural address. No point in hanging out and having fun. Before we get to go to the various balls that night, we are going to have a work period, because this is going to be a working presidency. I may not get in as much golf as Obama, but I'll get in a lot more job creation. I'm not going to compete with Obama in singing, because I'm not running for entertainer in chief. I'm running for president. And I would say to him now, Mr. President, you cannot sing your way past the disaster of your presidency. Now, we will immediately, you know, I forgot my teleprompter. I said to myself, I'm having to wing this because of the staff failure. So, we're going to sign on that day the authorization for the immediate deployment of the Keystone Pipeline as don't cut a deal with the Chinese. Help is on the way. By January, you're going to build the right pipeline to the right place. I'll give you a couple more. We're going to put together a package. You're going to see this is what a serious conservative president is like, who is bold and is prepared to change Washington despite the screams of the establishment of both parties. So a couple more steps. We will, on that day, sign an executive order that will instruct the State Department that day to open the embassy in Jerusalem and recognize Israel. I'll give you just two more examples. I will sign that day an executive order reinstating Ronald Reagan's Mexico City policy. No U.S. money will go anywhere in the world to pay for abortion, period. And finally, Many of you may have noticed that the Obama administration has declared war on the Catholic Church and other religious institutions. I want you to know that on the very first day, I will sign an executive order repealing every anti-religious act of the Obama administration. The reason I'm comfortable telling you all this is I have been studying what America needs to do since the fall of 1958 when my dad was stationed in Europe in the Army. I have been working at what we need to do as Congressman, Speaker of the House, in the private sector. I believe it is possible to get this country back on track. My commitment is to unleash the spirit of the American people, to find new and innovative and positive things, to do them 7 days a week, to do them relentlessly, to do them without stop, to make sure that we have fundamentally gotten America back on the right track. And I pledge to each and every one of you personally, if you will reach out across the country, if you'll use Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and phone calls and even visits, if you will tell all of your friends in the other 46 states that there is a chance to nominate a conservative who knows what he's doing, who has done it before, and who has the courage and the determination to get it done. I promise you that if I become your president, I pledge to you my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. This is about
Newt Gingrich is the only candidate who can win the Latino vote. Without the Latino vote, no one can win. And Newt is the right candidate because he has everything straight, and he will win, and he will be the next presidente de los Estados Unidos.
Gracias.
Gracias.
So you energized? Mr. Mayor?
Well, we've got an energetic crowd out here. They're pretty excited about the next 46 states.
But how do you feel about personally being involved in the Florida campaign?
Well, I feel that it was a very meaningful effort to advance the agenda of Newt Gingrich, who really has a great plan for America into the future. And we were up against a well-organized campaign that had campaigned here 4 years ago, and we're outspent $17 million to $5 million. And all in all, it was a good effort.
Let me ask you that, because you mentioned the being outspent. Dollar for dollar, it seems that Mr. House Speaker Gingrich actually got a better bang for the buck, vote-wise. Would you agree with that?
Well, we've not measured our success in bang for the buck. We've measured our success in the people that are involved in the campaign, and it really is a people campaign versus a money campaign. We feel pretty good about that.
Thank you, sir.
Talking about kids' mail today.
here at Gingrich headquarters in Orlando, Florida. The crowd definitely could not have been any more enthusiastic. And even though he came in second in Florida's primary, it looks like Gingrich and his campaign is moving on.